In this video, we're going to be talking about the spinal cord. The spinal cord is one of the most important bones in the entire body. And the reason for its importance is because it helps coordinate not only the body, but also helps communication between neurons and communication between the peripheral and central nervous system. So basically, it's like a long tube-like structure that connects the bones and also helps send signals from the brain to the body. This is the spinal cord. This is how it looks like. And the spinal cord can be sectioned into 5 different parts, that being the cervical, the thoracic, the lumbar, the sacral, and the coccygeal. Each of the sections have their own functions. So for example, if the brain has to send a signal to a certain part of the body, it would go to one of these sections which has nerves inside of each part, and these nerves send the connection to different parts of the body. This allows better communication and coordination from the brain and the body. Also, know that the spinal cord is part of the central nervous system. These small bones are known as vertebrae. These vertebrae are stacked up on top of each other, which are separated by cartilage. In the cartilage, we find these neurons. There's around 13.5 million neurons inside of the entire spinal cord. These neurons bunch up and make nerves, and these nerves are the ones that send the signal to the different parts of the body. And basically, these are the nerves ejecting out. There are 31 pairs of nerves, and notice when I say pairs because there's the right side, and then there's the left side. Each nerve has a different function as it sends to a different part of the body. The cervical is mainly around the upper part of the body, or the neck. It's listed from C1 to C8. The C standing for cervical, and the 1 having the first nerve, the second nerve, the third nerve, so on. The cervical from C1 to C8 is mainly the nerves are mainly sent towards the neck. In the neck, C3 to C5 controls the diaphragm, or our ability to breathe, and C5 to C8 is the one that controls our shoulders, arms, and hands, allowing us to move those. C1 to C2 just helps straighten out our neck. So next is the thoracic section. The thoracic section is labeled from T1 to T12. See, the T stands for thoracic, and the 1 stands for the first nerve, the second nerve, third nerve, goes on. So T1 to T6 is the one where we are able to control our ribs and waist. And T7 to T12 is where we control our abdominal muscles and the organs inside of it. The medulla oblongata would send the signals to be able to tell us to breathe, to be able to tell us to beat our heart. These are involuntary actions, but that signal is still being sent to these organs. The signal is still being sent to the thoracic nerves, and they send it to the organs, or the smooth muscles. Next would be the lumbar section. L1 to L5 helps control our legs, feet, and hips. Notice that the thoracic and lumbar sections all fall under the sympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is how we respond to stress and how we respond to our fight and flight. It's basically like a reflex. So the sympathetic nervous system is under the autonomic nervous system, and the autonomic nervous system is the one that handles the involuntary muscles. Next is the sacral. S1 to S5 controls the bowel and the bladder. It's home to the parasympathetic response. So parasympathetic meaning rest and digest. It's also part of the autonomic nervous system, but this time instead of having more of a reflex, it helps lower our heart pressure, helps lower the heart rate, regulates our breathing to normal speed, and basically it's where we feel more relaxed. And lastly is the coccygeal. This is the one that controls our rectum and anus. These are the sections of the spinal cord, and this is just a highlight of what each nerve in these sections do. If the thoracic bones broke, broke, that means that you would not have as much, you would have problems in digesting, and you would also need to go through surgery. If your lumbar is broken, that means that all the nerves that send signals to the legs, the feet, and the hips would no longer be intact, meaning that you're not able to walk anymore. The sacral is the one that controls the bowel movement as well as bladder, meaning it'll happen uncontrolled. And the coccygeal is the one that controls the rectum and anus. The spinal cord is not a long bone. It actually is made up of multiple bones known as the vertebrae. That is why we are able to bend our back, or else we would not be able to do it. Note that it is made up of 33 bones, which are basically discs placed on top of each other that are separated by cartilage, and inside these cartilage are where the neurons and nerves are located. So you can look at this over here. This is a model that acts like the spinal cord. These little different colors represent the parts of the spinal cord. So you can think of green as the cervical, the yellow as the thoracic, the red as the lumbar, this other green, it could be like the sacral, and this bottom one could be the coccygeal. The red strings that are coming out over here would act as the nerves that send the message from the brain to the other parts of the body, which is the peripheral nervous system.